Hello, I'm Wanda Pethel, and I am your CheckMate contact. I'm excited to share with you that CheckMate has been completely redesigned with many enhancements. A few of the most requested enhancements include the kiosk automatically returns to the home screen after a transaction. There is an option to scan a driver's license for guest and substitute check-ins. You also have the ability to print a total number of tardies on student check-in slips and create behavior referrals based on total tardies if you choose. The following is a brief overview of the new features of CheckMate. Log into CheckMate using the credentials given to your school to choose the options for the kiosk.
We'll select our school name, click Go, and now we have our options available for us on the kiosk. This is your Enable Tools. Therefore, if you do not see something on your screen when you start the kiosk, that means it has been disabled either by district level staff or school level administrators. From here, there is a Check All button, so I can very quickly turn everything on this kiosk. But keep in mind, you can have multiple kiosks set up throughout your building. So if you don't want students and guests to check in on the same kiosk, you can simply turn it on this station for students only, or you can turn it on for guests only. So whatever options you select here is what will be available on this kiosk for those users. For your printer, since we had it left or had it set on the settings page for choose on login, I can now decide which printer I want set for this kiosk. This can be the Twin Turbo, which will print the name tags for my guests and my subs and my student check in and out slips, or it could be a single printer, or I can simply leave it set to do not print. This may be beneficial for schools who decide to set up multiple kiosks, especially on those high volume checkout days, because you can simply have a tablet or an iPad or a laptop set up. If you know you're going to have a lot of students checking out that day, simply set it to do not print. You don't have to worry about having additional printers because it will still update campus based on the student checking in or out since everything is web-based. Once I'm ready to start my kiosk, I simply click Go. The kiosk will stay logged in approximately 12 hours, so you don't have to worry about going back in and starting the kiosk at the schools. When your students are ready to check in, they're simply going to click on Student Check-in. From here, I can enter my student number, or if I have the student name search enabled, I can simply find my name from that drop list. They select their student name, click Next, and then they're going to choose the reason. This is simply those student attendance code mappings that we set previously on our settings page. So we can have one or two options, or we could have multiple, whatever's best for you and your school. We'll simply click on Check In. Then we're going to select the person checking in the student. This is pulling from the relationship tab for that student. If it's the student checking him or herself in, they can simply click Self, or they can select from the list of individuals on their relationship tab that are in their household, or we can select Other. So maybe someone else is checking the student in, they're not listed, there is an option for Other, and then they can enter their name. There is also the option for comments. So from here, we can simply enter in any comments regarding the student checking in, and then click on Check In. Once the student is checked in, it will print the check-in slip automatically and then return back to our home screen. Once the students are ready to check out, they're simply going to click on Student Checkout. Now in this example, I'm going to show you what it looks like for that override option in the event that the student has a restricted pickup flag. So I can enter my student number, or I can find my name in the drop list, click Next, and this is the warning that's going to pop up on the screen. This way the attendance clerks know right away that this student has a restricted pickup flag. We will enter our attendance password and then click continue if the student or the parent is allowed to continue with that transaction. From here, we'll select our checkout reason. And now the next option I'm going to actually show you is I'm going to select a person in the drop list to check out the student that actually has a restricted pickup flag as well. I select the name, enter the comments for the reason for the checkout, and click checkout. Now I also get the message, but notice it is in red, so that is one way that very quickly the attendance clerk can see that this parent or guardian has a restricted pickup flag. From here, there's not an override option. The attendance clerk would have to handle this manually. To return to the home screen, we simply click on the checkbox and it will return us back to the home screen. Once your guests are ready to check in, they're simply going to select Guest Check-in. If you do have CheckMate Plus purchased and you have your driver's license scan enabled, once the guests click on Guest Check-in, they're going to be prompted to scan their driver's license. From here, they will scan the back of their driver's license and it will capture their first and last name as well as the driver's license number. If you also have your webcam enabled, notice we do have our webcam turned on, so it's going to also capture the image for our guest. We're going to simply type our reason for our visit and then click check in, and it will also take our guest picture as well. Your guest name tag will print with a picture on it as well, and then it's going to return to the home screen. Once your guests are ready to check out, they will simply click on Guest Checkout. From here, they could scan the barcode on their name tag, or we can simply search by name to check out. We'll select the name and then select Guest Checkout. It lets us know that our guest is now checked out, and then it will automatically return to the home screen. When your employees are checking in, they're simply going to click on Employee Check-in. From here, they can enter their employee number, or they can find their name from a drop list. They can enter any comments regarding the time that they're checking in, and then click Check In. From here, it would print the time slip if we had that enabled. If not, it will simply return back to our home screen. When the employee is ready to check out, they simply click on Employee Checkout, enter their employee number, or once again, find their name from the drop list if we have that enabled. They can enter any comments if needed and simply click Checkout. It will then check the employee out and return to the home screen. For your substitute check-in, they would simply click on Sub Check-in. If you do have CheckMate Plus and there again you have that driver's license scan enabled, I'm actually going to show you what it looks like to do an attendance override. In the event that anyone that comes into your building, they do not have their driver's license with them, you can allow for a manual entry. It does require someone to enter the attendance password. So we would simply click on Enter Manually, enter our attendance password, and then just like before, our webcam is enabled, but now the user will type their first and last name manually. Then they will select the staff that they are substituting for, and this is just simply going to pull from the staff list for this school, and click Check In. From here, it will print the substitute's name tag with their picture, and it will also list the individual that they are there substituting for. Once the sub is ready to check out, they simply click on Sub Checkout. They can scan the barcode that printed on their name tag, or they can find their name from that drop list and click on Checkout. It now checks our sub out and returns to the home screen. The last option on the kiosk that you can use is the student notes. This could be utilized for those students with change in transportation, or it could simply be a hall pass for those students to come to the front office at a certain time of the day. You simply click on Student Notes, enter that student number, Or if we have the name search enabled, find the name from the drop list and enter any student note. Click submit, and it will print the student note on the student check-in paper as well, and then return back to the home screen. You also have an admin option on the kiosk in the event that you need to reprint any tickets, or if someone needed to log out of the kiosk, maybe you're closing out of it at the end of the day. You simply click on the button next to CheckMate, enter your attendance password, and click continue. From here, there is a timer, so notice if we leave the screen unattended, it will log us out automatically. If we need to reprint tickets, we click that option and then decide which module we needed to reprint tickets. If it was for a guest, we'd simply click guest and then click reprint. Same thing for your subs, students, or student notes. If we are simply logging out of the kiosk, we are going to select the logout option. Now I want to take just a moment to show you what the new slips look like for the new version of CheckMate. For students who check in or out, notice you do have an updated slip here. We have the student name, any notes or comments we added on the settings page, as well as the date and time. And you also have the current teacher for check-ins and checkouts. If we have CheckMate Plus and we have enabled our behavior levels, this is an example of a slip for a student with an excessive tardy warning. Notice we have our warning that prints as well as the total number of unexcused tardies. For your guests who check in or out, this is an example of the new updated guest name tag. In this example, we do not have the webcam turned on, but we did have one with driver's license scan and one without. The one on the left is a manual entry. Notice Zach's name is not in all caps. We do identify it's a guest pass, and the administrator can quickly see that this individual did not scan their driver's license because it simply has a circle around the checkbox. Notice the barcode at the bottom so that if you have the driver's license scan enabled, the guest can scan their name tag on their way out to check out. You also have a sample of one who did scan their driver's license. We can tell quickly because Zach's name is in all caps, and we have the shield around the checkbox. So we know that this guest did scan their driver's license. We just did not have our webcam enabled for this example. For your substitute check-in, this looks very similar to your guest check-in. Notice it does say it's a substitute pass, and it also identifies who that guest or that sub is there substituting for. Now we're going to navigate back to campus so that I can share a few reports with you that you can reference to see any of your students or guests who have checked in and out of your buildings. These are simply outline links in your campus index. The first one I'm going to talk about today is the Who's in the Building report. This is a very quick way for you to see who is in your building, who has checked into your building right now. Notice I have all schools selected at the top. Therefore, I can see every guest and every sub checked into all the schools in my district on one page. If we do have a school selected, and we click on the Who's in the Building report, I will only see the guests and subs currently checked in for that school. Next, we have the CheckMate student report. Notice I have Ridgemont High School selected, so I'm seeing all of the students for today who have checked in or out via the CheckMate kiosk. We can see the student name, the person who checked them in, the reason, any comments, the date and time, the type, the IP address, if the transaction processed in CheckMate, and whether or not there was a behavior referral associated. All of the column headers on our report, if you click, it will filter by those headers. And then notice you can export and print any of these reports. You also can filter by date range. So if I want to see all of the students who have checked in or out for this date range, I will click filter and I can see all of the transactions. Notice we do have a sample of one where it did not write back to campus. So you do want your attendance clerks to modify this. That way, if there is any type of error and CheckMate had a problem updating the attendance tab in campus, it will give them an error message here. If we look at a transaction that occurred today, for example, and click on that student, it's going to take you to that student's attendance tab, so then you can look at that attendance record as well. You also have a report for guest. Notice on your guest report, by default we're reviewing today's guest, but notice it's also showing you that individual's picture. So that way you always have that as a reference as well. But just like with students, we can simply filter by date range to see any guest who has checked in or out of our building. We also have a CheckMate employee report. You can see any employees checking in or out for today, or we can filter by date range. If those employees did not check out for the day, we will get the notification here as well. Keep in mind, this does not prevent them from not being able to check in the next day. It's just one way for you to know that they forgot to check out at the end of the day. You also have a report for your CheckMate substitutes. So there again, by default, we see the subs for today, or we can filter by date range to see all of our subs. Notice the webcam is enabled, so we also are capturing their picture, and we can also see the staff member there that they were substituting for. The last report option is the CheckMate notes, so we can see any notes that are entered for today, or we can filter by date range to see any notes that have been entered over at that time frame.
Thank you for watching. If you have any issues with your CheckMate computer, scanner, or printer, please go to LaunchPoint and click on the School Dude work order system to enter a work order to have your computer technician come and take a look at it. And if you have any questions about the CheckMate program or need any extra settings added, feel free to email those to me at wanda.pethel@hallco.org or give me a call at extension 401. Have a wonderful day.